So, Krystal, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. First and foremost, just let us know who you are.
That's such a big question. And it's funny because I was just writing about it this morning before we got on. And
Not funny how we
I
do that,
wrote
maybe.
a question um, saying, well, I was wondering about who I might have been if I was born in another lifetime or in a different dimension. So
Oof.
I kind of went on this daydream. If I was born 4 generations ago as a French girl, like what would my life have been? Um, and so in my journal that I have in front of me, one of the lines, so I was laughing when you asked me, it says, "Who might I have become? Who am I? And who do I want to be?" So the line that comes directly after says, "I love being a mother," which is really, I do. I love motherhood. But who I am is such a big question, right? I feel like
It is.
it's always
And I always like really hate asking people just that kind of a question because you do want to know that, right? But then, like, the answer that comes for most people, the answer is like, well, you really want to know what I do for a living, right? Like how I make money. And really, that shouldn't be,
no.
right? I mean, that's
Well,
why it's so difficult.
I never grew up, so there's that. So I'm a creative. I am a mother first and foremost. I have 2 amazing kids. My daughter's 15. My son will be 11 this week, in a few days. Um, and that's kind of been it shaped my life since I was 21. So as I've learned, and now at 38, as I kind of rediscover who I am and who I want to be, and I ask myself these questions, so much of my becoming has been shaped around motherhood. There's no differentiating me from that as my existence. But beyond that, I'm a writer, communicator. I love what you said. I'm learning to call myself a storyteller. Um, I love stuff like this. Someone asked me the other day if my struggles weren't my struggles. Like, I'll tell you a little bit of my story in a bit. But like, if I didn't grow up overweight, if that wasn't my story, who would I wanted? Who would I have wanted to be? Like, what would I have wanted to do?
Be. Yeah.
And I didn't know the answer. I'm like, I don't know. I just only know this story. So I think who we are is like this ever evolving journey of
Yeah.
becoming that person, right?
And being okay with that, I think is huge, right? I mean, because if we are talking about stories, right? I mean, how many books do you read in a month, or a year, right? How many just conversations about somebody's stories, and if you picked up that conversation a year later, did their story change? So, why do you have to be defined as
Right.
like to one thing?
As long as we're alive,
Motherhood.
we're evolving and we're healing, we're growing, we're
Yeah.
changing.
So, with that in mind, then where does this story begin, at least for you?
Well, I guess like what got us here is that I'm a writer, I'm an author. So in our connecting, I was on threads looking for other people telling stories to connect with. Podcasts to join, conversations to join, things like that, and we landed on you. So I'll start with the author part.
Sorry,
I
sorry, I don't know.
No, so excited. I literally told my friend before we got on, I don't actually even know who I'm talking to, but I'm going to tell my story somewhere, which is not unlike me anyway. Like I was crying with a lady in Walmart just a couple weeks ago that asked me where the oatmeal was. So it's not completely unlike me to just
Say,
share. But when I had my daughter in 2010, like as I mentioned, I had been overweight since the earliest I can remember is 5. And conversations around my weight really centered my life story. And so when I was young and I was in college, I was a junior in college, and I got pregnant with my daughter unexpectedly. My dad had just passed. I was very lost. I'm very blessed that I'm still now 15 years later with my husband. He became my husband. But we started off life, very early and kind of hit the ground running. And my first instinct when I found out I was having a daughter was that I was going to be the healthy mom. I was going to lose weight. I was going to break the cycle. Right. So that kind of began a journey that it's crazy to look back on now because it began a
yeah,
journey that I don't even know how to separate myself from if I wanted to. So
yeah.
it
So something shifted, yeah.
something shifted and it's been like it's not about weight loss. So like I lost over 100 pounds very publicly. So I created at the time, this was 2011 when Facebook like pages were just kind of rolling
Yeah,
out. Blogs were really hot. Like I love that Substack is back now because, like, Blogspot was the spot for me
Yeah.
for as a
Yeah.
writer. Um, and then it became images, videos, and, keeping up with the Joneses of
Yeah.
digital media, but I started as a blogger just telling my story.
Just telling your story, yeah.
And people loved it because I was a young mom. I was very vulnerable. Like I said, I'm not shy to tell my story, and I've had
Yeah.
to learn how much of it is for the public, feet to the fire,
Yeah.
Um, but it took off. So it was called Skinny Jeans Dreams, and it was just a catchy, name I came up with. My friend was like, "You should start a blog." I'm like, "Okay." I can remember my husband, my he was my boyfriend then, he brought home, like, a Blogging for Dummies book,
I love it.
and I was like, "Let's do it," and that became the Facebook like page that ended up having, like, 18,000 people, like, pretty quickly, um, because it wasn't what it is now. So it was so new, weight
Correct.
loss
Yeah.
pages and success stories and diet culture of the times was, like, hot, and I was in the middle of it. So,
Yeah.
like, I tell people all the time, like, I sold merch. I ordered, like, 400 water bottles to my 4th floor apartment and mailed them to all my fans across the country. It was a time, and it's crazy to tell it from
So,
here
yeah.
because the internet's become what it's become.
Yeah.
But so fast forward, were you gonna ask me something? Sorry, I thought.
No, I'm just smiling, like, I mean, it's just, like, how do you make sense of all that, you know? It's just
And
it's
I'm
it
20
you like
something.
yeah, right? I mean, it's just to look at it now, I mean, now we just kinda joke that, like, we've got terms for it, but it's
Yes.
that to me is I mean, just take out the internet part of it, take out the that's the premise of sharing the story is that people heard just a raw, simple story. There was no, did this have the right, algorithm time? Did it
Yes.
have the right hashtag? Did you put the right filter on that picture?
Yes.
It
All
was
that.
just you and it was there. And, you're like kind of making sense of what's happening in the moment, but you're also making sense of yourself simultaneously. And I mean, you can maybe speak to that a little bit better than I can at this point, but I think we forget that now that like you're sharing, but you don't necessarily, yeah, you may share because like, I want people to hear this, but do you really believe that now? But back then, I mean, you tell me, I mean,
You didn't
how do you
know. I
intertwine both, right? That you're
right.
making sense of you and the fact that people, what, want to hear you talk about this? Like,
And it was
right.
about my body of all things, right?
Yeah.
My thing that I had struggled with forever. I had been I was an overweight kid of the '90s. Like, I've been to Weight Watchers meetings at 14. So, like, that was part of my life journey already, privately, before the internet. Um, and I don't know how old you are, but I'm as a millennial, we're the generation gap
Old enough.
old enough,
We'll put it
right?
that way.
Uh, and so, like, I was on we were in the front lines. I was in the front lines as, like, a
Yeah.
young teenager, as a young twenty-something-year-old, and I often say I became a personal brand before I had any idea who I was as a person.
Right. Yeah.
And there wasn't a coach or a course or a free download to tell me how to do it. It was feet to the fire.
Yeah.
And it was fun, don't get me wrong, like, it was not I don't say it like it was a bad thing. It was just a whoa, like, it just happened quickly. I
Yeah.
got caught up in the tides of it. And I loved it. Like, it was validation in ways that I crave. So, like,
Yeah.
you know? But ultimately, I ended up losing too much weight. I ended up getting really, really unhealthy mentally. I hit, like and this story is not uncommon for women who have been in the diet culture world. You go to the other extreme, you swing the pendulum.
Yeah.
And so by, like, 2012, 13, I, um I tell the story in my first book in Nurse. It's called Nurse, about how I was sitting on my mom's couch around Christmas time, and I was wearing, like, a size 2. I went from, like, a size 22 to a size 2, and I was Facebook famous. Like, I would be out, and people would be like, "You're that girl from Facebook," or, like, we were in Virginia at Busch Gardens in line for a roller coaster, and some girl was like, "Excuse me, are you Skinny Jeans Dreams?"
Oh, man.
And, like, I got my kid, she's a toddler at this point, and I'm, like, we weren't even married yet, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's me."
Yeah.
So,
What
like,
does that feel like though from the inside, like hearing that? I mean, it's gotta
then
be like a conflicting thing, right?
yeah, yes, and I think where I ended up breaking ultimately was and I've revisited this break more than once in my life cycles, but, um, the differentiation between, the water and the well, like
Yeah.
the who I am online and how do you bring
Yeah.
authenticity
Yeah.
without, and I did share, like, a lot, almost everything, like, too much.
Yeah.
And I had close people to me say, "Careful how much," you know? And I'd be like, "You gotta be vulnerable, you gotta be honest, you gotta be these things, this is what people want, this is why we
Yeah.
connect." Um, and then there's the behind the scenes and there's the things that are actually happening, right? So like you said, I'm a young
Right.
20-something-year-old figuring out motherhood, grieving my dad publicly and privately. Um, I just met my now husband. We thank God we figured it out, but who knows how the cookie could have crumbled.
Yeah.
And I was living in Atlantic City in an apartment on the boardwalk. So, like, I was like part of my
I
brand was, like, that I was jogging the boardwalk and, like, when I
yeah.
had 10,000 followers, I went and jogged the stairs at the Taj Mahal, like, "Yay." And this was, like, 2013.
Right.
Um, I definitely lost my train of thought in one of the questions you asked me.
I was looking for like what that all felt like on the inside, but I mean, you're saying it in just in it without saying it. Honestly, is that you kind of get consumed by it, but you like what we forget still now, even though we've heard it a million times, if not more, is that there is another story. We just joke now and just kind of like laugh it off. That it's like they just did it for the gram, and it's like, well, hold on a second. Like, there's a reality to that. And the reality is that the human being, while started off maybe, in a very pure place of trying to figure themselves out, now they're trying to figure themselves out with whatever where they started with, weight loss journey and mental health, whatever the case is. And now you've added a new pressure to it that somebody else knows you way far away from your home for this, and, you could
Like
have
you
been not
said,
at
we
you
didn't
could have
have
not been at Busch
terms.
Gardens, you could have been, like, at the doctor's office in your pajamas and
Yeah.
had the worst, like, cold of your life, and, like, they're like, "Wait a minute,
Good night, girl.
you were running the steps at Taj Mahal a second ago, well,
Right.
this can't be right," and so it's like, "Wait a minute," right? I mean, how do you contend with that?
There's been so many challenges and in different ways too, like, even like, after the big weight loss and really getting into fitness, I got into the MLM fitness world, and I, like, built a team because I had the following. I built a really, like, big direct sales multi-level marketing team in the fitness space and met a lot of women, and then also had to then I was a coach and leader and all these things in that space still publicly, and still becoming kinda who I have been becoming, all this time. And the 20s are such formative years, but as a
Yeah,
old soul, as they've said, like, I've connected with women so much older than me. I mean, across different cultures and backgrounds
yeah,
and states, and I've had people in Canada. I shipped a Skinny Jeans Dreams t-shirt to Australia. Um, which is just it's so crazy to me. It doesn't even feel like my life when I tell the story
yeah,
from here.
yeah,
Um, but the thing what you said earlier is, like, we had terms for them too. It's like, now we call them trolls, but that was just becoming
right,
a thing
right,
too. So,
right.
like, I would be doing all that, and then someone would come, and I would, like, post myself in a bathing suit. Again, too, like, now, I'm like, "Oh, girl," like, if I could mentor my 20-something-year-old self, I'd be like, "Come here, baby girl," you know? "You don't have to do all that, it's okay."
You don't have to do all of that. The wrong person was watching. You just needed to watch yourself. That's
Yeah,
really what, right?
yeah, and I needed the validation at the time. Now
Sure, sure.
but so people would come along and I would get comments like, "Oh, you've lost so much weight, but you have no breasts left," or something. Like, I'll just always comments about my body. "What about your loose skin? Can I see it?" Um, and, like, just stuff that, like, the times, it just was. But there was another time where, like, I shared a lot of my daughter, which I don't anymore. I don't share my kids. I share them, like, with Facebook friends privately, but that's it. Like,
Yeah,
um, because there was a time when I found a website. Someone sent a website to me, and someone had stolen all the pictures off my blog of me and my daughter
Sure.
and started a website about their weight loss, and when they were selling some weight loss product, and they said that my daughter was their daughter, that my pictures were their story,
Pictures. Yeah.
and there was nothing I could do about it because it was public domain.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and without, I mean, like sounding like that harsh, but it's like, you sign yourself up for that, but you don't realize you signed yourself up for
Exactly.
that. I think most people believe that everybody is kind hearted, but, I mean, it's still harmful, but like on the scale of things, like harm less, but still, right? I mean, it's that part of like people's story, I think, and that's where we were talking at the beginning, like to me, has to be protective. You can call it being private, you can call it being closed in, whatever you want to say. To me, it's just the fact that it's yours, and you have to. People have to dial it back themselves before they put it out there. That like, okay, by the way, unless you're putting this on a piece of paper, and that piece of paper in a journal is going underneath your mattress, if you're putting it out there in some way, someone's gonna hear it, and there's 99% of them is gonna be like, "Hey, this is amazing. You look great. Like, you've come a long way. I can see you're happy." All those things, but there's that 1% that's gonna smack you in the face and say, "Hey, I'd like to bring you back down to
Yeah,
size."
right.
And
Yeah,
we don't talk about that, right? I mean,
absolutely. And it takes its toll. And then
yeah,
and maintaining the public image in general, like, no matter what you do, who you like, it is a vulnerable space no matter how you cut it. As an artist, as a
yeah,
creative, anything you're putting out there, like, we're sensitive. We're sensitive about our art no matter what it
yeah,
is. Um, you grow tough skin over time, but, like, and then, for me, it was my body, but and then it's become my story, which is,
yeah,
there's the differentiation. What's the balance?
right,
And then during my like beach body days, I really wanted to be what people saw me as. And I really wanted to be this leader that, I mean, I had the team because I had the influence and I was
right,
learning how to be a leader. Like I was showing up, I was earning leadership retreats and reading all the personal development books and like doing all the things. But I was like
yeah,
24, you know? And I had women who were like in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who were looking to me as a
right.
weight loss success story, who then turned her story into a business and they wanted parts too. I
They
would,
wanted that
right?
same, yeah, right,
And I made amazing, amazing friends along the way, but also like attracted a lot of like
yeah,
things that I didn't know how to deal with. Like, you know, people had me on pedestals that I couldn't maintain. And when I fell, like it hurt.
yeah.
And
And then
so
being, I
it's
mean, 24, I mean, sorry,
no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, and then, I mean, even, at being that age, I mean, you're right. I mean, biologically, even like 25 is, your brain hasn't even completely wired itself all together, but like, there's still an opportunity to figure out who you are. There's that weird balance, right? That we just, some people write it off that like, oh, you're too young, but I mean, you can still look back at that, and I'm sure, in that moment, like, what did you learn about yourself in that season, though, right?
Right, and so much, and, like and yeah, I was always told, "You're so young," and when I wrote a book at 27 about it all, people were like, "You're so young, like, what do you know?" Basically, and I'm like, I don't know
Right.
what I know, but here it is."
Here it is. Yeah. Right. I mean, and be able to say that out loud. So, I mean, stick with that then for a second. What changed in your understanding that you decided to put that, into something? I mean, I'd say that like the blog wasn't formal, but a formal
Yeah,
way of like, a book. I mean, that's way more permanent in the sense of things that it's tangible. It's there, and there's the lessons. You have to see them actually put there versus, you're speaking it on this, in a
yeah,
reel or a
yes,
video that could be like, in the moment presenting yourself. In a book, though, I've got to imagine as you're writing it, you're like, wow, where did that come from? Or where did that come from? Right?
yeah. The book my first book is so different, like, writing this book that I'm writing now and writing my first book are just, like, completely
Right.
different beasts of experiences.
Yeah.
My first book was kinda in demand because I had the following and they liked my writing, and that was the biggest thing. I am a
Yeah.
great writer. Like, at this point, I can say that I've put in the hours to be able to say
I
I'm a
love it.
great writer. But I've worked hard to become one. I like to call
Yeah.
myself that, and I like to call myself that well, but at the time, I didn't know that writing was gonna be my thing either, you know?
Right.
And people love my words, they love my storytelling, and they always wanted a book. They're like, "I relate to your words. I want a book. I want a book." For me, because I knew the demons, the shadowy shit that I wasn't sharing as much,
Right.
um, I knew it couldn't be about weight loss only. Yeah, I knew that weight
Yeah.
loss was gonna be part of my story, but I just for me, it had to be something more.
There's more to it. Sure.
And I didn't consider didn't consider so much, but I didn't consider, um, how it would feel excuse me, how it would feel on the other side of it being published. Like you said, it is very permanent. And as we were
Yeah.
talking about, we're always evolving. And I didn't have that awareness then,
Yeah.
when I was writing it at 25, 26, 27, and all these things were happening. I didn't have the awareness to think, mind what you write because you're going to outgrow this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when it came out and when people started reading it, this had, the roller coaster had been going up. Like eventually there's the other side of the hill.
Right.
Um, the year my book came out with Beachbody, I was coaching a woman who ended up winning $100,000 from Beachbody. And I was her coach, so I was on stage with her. I won $40,000. We were
Jeez.
like at the Beachbody Summit in front of 15, however many thousand people. Um, so that happened in the summer. Now, the behind the scenes of that was very complicated. I do like to respect, that it's not all my story at this point. I've tried to find the balance, but very, very toxic. Let's go with that.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
but on the public side, very successful, something to be, something to strive for.
Yeah.
And because I didn't know what I know now, I just kept the face. I kept the face on and I kept pretending it was. And I stood on the stage and, we all did, not just me.
Right.
We were all, it was a complicated time.
Kind of
Um,
wrapped into it. Yeah.
but that year, my book also came out and my husband and I got married. So like I planned a wedding through all
This
of
was
it.
a lot. Yeah.
Um, and then after that, I crashed for like 5 years.
Yeah. Because you do, right? I mean, and there's the, I mean, I don't want to say like the dark side of it, but there's the dark side of like what
There is.
you said. You're at some point you do have to come down. That doesn't mean you're coming down in flames, but at some time it has to level out. It has to kind of your body, your mind has to say like, hey, this was a lot. If you're not going to do something about slowing down, we're going to do it for you,
Absolutely.
and you may or may not like that. So,
Right.
I mean, and I mean, I get I don't have, like, any experience when it comes to, that kind of a culture, but that's what's always, like, made me weary of things, like, I mean, not just using, like, putting I mean, it's only because you said Beachbody out loud, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's many ones that are similar to that, and, like, to me, the fitness end of it and the mental side of it too, it just wasn't as prevalent as you see it now. That's the side that makes me like catch your breath and gives you a panic attack as you watch people kinda get consumed by it. Because sometimes it's they're aware of the fact that, like, this is all-consuming, you are playing on people's psychological needs, that they want to feel better, look better, all that,
Yeah. The
and you get
stay-at-home
so
moms who will need to make money, all of
yeah,
it.
right, you get so built into it that you forget who you are until you do, right? And that's so I mean, I mean, I'm glad you brought that and said that there is, like, something going behind the scenes, and that to me is enough, and there's a
And
good
so many
example. You don't have to
people
say anything, you get it when you say that.
yeah, yeah, and it's not and it's everybody, like you said, like, it's but so many people, and I've watched them, like, I've watched women that I look up to, leaders that I admire, because they feel like they have to go through divorces publicly, go through miscarriages publicly, all the things that we go through in our lives that everybody, goes through because of the front-facing aspect of the world we've
Yeah,
developed.
yeah,
Um, I don't know, I've had some conversations, but there's people that I don't sit, around the table with that I wonder, like, I
yeah,
wonder how they are having gone through that. I've watched people, lose their husbands, lose their wives, like, and do it also publicly, but I know from my own experience, like, there's always a part you're not seeing.
yeah, of
Um,
course, right?
in my book, I don't know if this part will get published or not. Right now, and then this becomes a question of like, how deep do I want to go with it? Because there
Yeah,
is shit. There's a lot of icky, ugly stuff. But like, the only thing that's allowed me to stand in this place and to be in this light and to even want to have this conversation is learning to face it and learning to dance with it. And um, So in part of my book, I write about how my shadows have always been a part of me, but when I was all consumed by the limelight, the light, like I, tried to like Heisman them out of my life. I tried to like,
Yeah,
push them aside. I wrote how some nights I'd try to drink them away with a bottle of wine only to find them drunk and more complicated by morning.
oof,
Um, I would try to pray them away. I was very, very into my Christianity at the time. I'm very spiritual still and now, but then it was very Christian, religious
yeah,
based. So, like, try to pray these things away. And ultimately, what I say is like, it wasn't until I kind of like met them in the shadows and brought them some food and nourishment from the light and said, I see
yeah,
you, it's okay, that like, and learned to dance with all of it, that I felt like I could write again, that I felt like I had a story worth telling.
yeah. So where has this brought you now then? I mean, you're not even just looking back on it, but as you kind of navigate it still, and I think you're saying something beautiful there that that you they don't go away. That's impossible, right? If you put that in the mind of a kid, that maybe some people that other have kids that understand that too, when they find out they have a shadow, you realize that it's always there and it gets bigger, and sometimes it's not as big, and sometimes it's on the left side of you, and sometimes on the right side of you, and you
Yeah,
put that into this analogy that you beautifully using is that it is there and you have to figure out a way to have it coexist with you. And I think that's where we get it wrong. And for lack of better terms, is that we want it to go away and it doesn't, right? I mean, there maybe if when it's like nighttime and you're laying down in bed, you don't have a shadow that you can necessarily see unless they're,
that's when
but
they're the loudest.
it's there. That's when they're right. There you go. Right. So it's being able to figure out how to navigate the world with it, and you may or may not have brought that on yourself, but now it's here, and what do you do with it? And the doing with it, I think, is where we get caught. We think doing it is a fix, is a gone, is a this
Right.
is like never going to happen again, and
It's
it's
a
not.
cycle.
It's being able
No.
to right. It's being able to share that story and say, okay, here's what I've learned from it. This is what how I understand this now. So where has this brought you then now? And then ultimately, how did you come back to yourself with it?
So, the only way you rise again is from the ashes, right? Like you got to let it crumble sometimes.
Yeah,
So the intermediate part. So after I kind of shied away from my book, I wrote for a local newspaper for like the next 8 years. In COVID in between, I homeschooled my kids for a year. Like I had, marital woes that I had to navigate, all types of things. But
yeah,
ultimately in 2021, I lost my stepdad 12 years to the day that I lost my dad. And I was like, that was just a moment for me that kind of brought it all into view. And
yeah,
it like crumbled in a beautiful way, like in a way that I was just like, I just had to take it all the way step back.
yeah,
And like, who even am I? Like, who even am I? What do I want? How do I breathe?
yeah,
Like, and where do the pieces go back together? Because
yeah,
as a mom, there was no way I could stay in pieces.
right,
Um, so it's been a really interesting journey. In keeping some things, sacred, I will say I ended up spending a period of time in the house where I grew up basically as a teenager. So like where a lot of my stuff
story
kind of
began. Yeah,
originated
yeah,
and really almost like checked myself into like my own intensive care. like
yeah,
um and got to heal in a really beautiful way there and went
it
to
is.
therapy, but I also like went to sound baths and drum circles and any type of spiritual thing that I felt led to and really just let because I had crumbled so massively, it was like
Yeah,
there was no more fighting with myself saying like, "No, that's wrong, you shouldn't do this." It was just like survival, figure out how to get it back together.
yeah,
Um, and in that, that's where I feel like I have a book. Like in that is where I
where it
said,
came
"Well,
from.
how do
Yeah,
you do that? Like, where are the instructions, right? I can build a bench if you give me the instructions, but like,
yeah,
how do you build yourself back?" And
yeah,
my journey has been very much about self-discovery and self-love. And like, I remember I used to say, hold on, let's take a sip. I remember I used to say, when I was really into the diet space. Yeah, love yourself, but love yourself enough to get healthy, right? Like that would be my shit. And then the body positivity world kind of infiltrated diet culture, and
Yeah.
I was in the flow of that. Um, but when I was alone by myself, crying on the floor and like trying to figure out how to get it back together,
Yeah.
I started to build a framework unexpectedly for myself around what self-love means to me. So like I was asking myself like just really big questions like, all right, self-love. I'm a wordsmith. So like stuff, self. Who's the self? All right, who's the self? And then like what does it look like to love her? And like what is even love anyway? Um, and what does that
I
look
love
like?
this.
And so like I told you, bottom of the ocean deep. My sister tells me to come up for air sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But these are the things, I don't know, this is what I think about, this is how I move
I think you're
through, like
supposed to, you know? I really
yeah,
do. I think it's unfortunate it gets, like, stuck in this wishy-washy drum circle center, but, we forget that you don't have to do that. That's just, like, one part of it, and maybe that's the deepest part, maybe that's just a part, but it's this conversation that you have to have. It's the sorting out because I think of that too, and like I said, earlier, I mean, my kids are the ones that, like, slow me down, but I will. I mean, your
right.
head everybody's head has to spin with that, and I think the people that'll truly be successful, and successful in the sense that they have figured out how to navigate both sides of the world are the ones that are talking that out and in whatever pieces that may be, and are not afraid to say, "What? That doesn't just hurt because I lifted something heavy yesterday. That might hurt because I'm holding on to something." There's asking themselves that questions or those questions. I mean, I think that's important what you're doing.
Yeah, and they're hard questions and they're hard to answer, and so, like, it so the framework really became, like, me identifying, like, "Okay, well, write it out
Yeah.
then. As a writer, write it out." Like,
Yeah.
and the self-discovery part, that's time. I learn myself again every day. That's just an
Yeah.
acceptance of the becoming, I think, like we were talking about,
Yeah.
and but also doing the deep dive and like, why am I the way I am? Why do I crave
Yeah.
these things? Why are these shadows so loud? What am I not hearing? What am I not holding space
Yeah.
for? All these things. And then from the love standpoint, and really is what my book is about. It's about my story, but it's about this framework of self-love that I kind of ironed
Yeah.
out for myself, which included things like trust. Okay, I think that to love someone, if I'm going to love a partner, I need to trust them. So let's start there. What does it look like to trust them? And I really like coached and wrote my way through what does it look like to communicate with Crystal? What does it look like to be intimate with Crystal and not in a sexual way, like really intimate with Crystal,
Yeah.
right? Like things I hadn't thought about before because I was intimate with the internet,
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
know?
And
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 I
that's how
learned
you
so much
come
about
back full
myself.
circle. Yeah. I love it. I mean, to me, it speaks exactly what I mean, I don't wanna say, like, full circle, but, I mean, in a way, that's truly what should be happening, fine. Share what you feel like you need to share, learn what you need to learn, but learn what happened
Learn.
along the way, and maybe that's you realize, like, this was a really dumb idea to put all this out there, or maybe you learn that, like, that was a good idea, but that was too much or not enough. I don't know. I mean, everybody has their parameters there, but I think where you get caught in not sharing anything at all is, what that's gonna mean. Like, what are people gonna say? And I think that should be the thing that makes you not stop. I think it should make you go forward and say, what are they gonna say? Is this gonna be a really thing that they're gonna like, why did you just share that the fact that you're like you
Yeah.
said, going through this divorce, like, did
Yeah.
you really that? If they're gonna say that, then probably a good idea to listen to that. But if it's gonna be someone that said, silly and stupid in the sense of like, "Oh, well, put some clothes on." Well, you felt good in that moment, maybe you should, right? So it's like it's
It's a
being able
balance
to
for
like
sure.
think that out loud and really like, understand like your own journey, like you said, and figure out what that means for you in the end, and what is it, how is it going to make your happiness somehow complete, even though
Right.
that's never a possibility, and be
Right.
okay with that.
And I like that,
Beautiful.
like, now I feel like this book is almost like, the full circle, like the connecting dot. I feel like it
Yeah.
really tells the story from a different point of view, and it's not even fully written yet. I just feel it in me. It's
Yeah. It's there.
It's there. It's been there. I've
Yeah.
been building it and building it and building it. And only recently, this past year, I was in a car accident in May and got my first concussion. And I was like laid out for weeks. All I could do was nap. I couldn't be on screens. I like really struggled.
Yeah.
And because I remember I've never had a concussion. I'm not like that athletic. Like I remember feeling like I feel drunk all the time and I'm not.
All
And
the time.
my biggest fear in that moment was like I wouldn't get my faculties back. Like I wouldn't be able to write. I wouldn't
Mm.
be able to finish what I said I started.
What I
That
started
was
out.
my
Yeah.
fear. And thank God that I've been able to write and I have
Yeah.
my all my fingers and toes and I'm blessed to be here. And it was like it really felt like God took me by the neck and said, "Come on, I need you to write." You
Yeah.
know? And with that, I have discovered these parts of myself even through my writing that I'm like, "Wow." Or I, like, look back at the time and I'm like,
Who's this
"Whoa,
person? Yeah.
yeah, like, good job,
Yeah.
Krystal." Like, it doesn't feel like that in the moment, but, like, when you can look back
Yeah.
on it and be like, "Yeah, that's the work, like, that's it."
This worked. Yeah.
Um, it's really rewarding. And then getting to see, my daughter's 15 now, and she's very entrepreneurial. Um She is a baker, so she has a little baking business, and I've been able to use all my experiences to help her not just build a business, right? Like, I manage her social media for her business. She hates it. She doesn't even want Instagram. She's like, "I'm good."
Good for
But
you.
she's also heard the story of her pictures getting stolen, right? So,
Yeah. Sure.
she's grown up in this space, and I've asked her more than
Yeah.
once, "Does it bother you when, like, you see someone we're out and someone says hi to me that I don't
Yeah.
know, because people will be like, "Oh, Crystal," still, like, for different reasons these days, but still.
Yeah.
She said, "No, it's fine." And, like, she's gotten some really cool perks of the lifestyle over time.
Right.
So she has aunties all over the place that, from Facebook. Like, it's kinda crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but the thing that I am really thankful for is that where she's at in her life as a young woman, as someone who's figuring out who she is in the world, starting a business, wanting to take a more non-traditional path, um, and she's looking to me for guidance, and part of that is, like, just yesterday, I was just telling my friend about this morning, like, I had to talk to her about I said, "Nothing's worth burning out over." I've done this
Yeah.
1,000 times, like, she came home, she's part of stage crew, she takes AP classes, she's really, like, driven.
Yeah.
And she also has a baking business. Well, someone ordered 4 dozen cookies last night, so she was baking till 9:30, and you could just see the exhaustion
And
on
you
her
have
face.
life. Yeah.
And I was like I went into her room last night, and I'm like, "Listen, we're gonna strategize, we're gonna switch it up. I got some ideas, like, you just go to school, like, you're well provided for, you
Just
don't
right.
need to make money, like,"
Yeah.
and we had, like, a nice connected moment, like, "Mama's got me."
That's
And
so rare. Yeah.
as I was telling my friend about it, she's like kind of mirroring back to me, and I'm hearing myself, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it's all been for."
That's all right. Yeah.
In so many ways,
That's,
like, so in the
yeah.
levels in which I've been rewarded by who she's become for the hard work,
Yeah.
and also,
Yeah.
like, being I've said over the past probably 2 years since she's become a teenager and gone through her, womanly changes, I said, "I'm so thankful that I'm the woman I am today to be able to be here for the woman that she's becoming." 'Cause had I not
Yeah.
taken that journey, I would have been a hurting,
You would
broken
have.
woman trying to raise a young woman.
Yeah. And you gave you there's the true power of sharing your story is not for this larger picture altogether. It's the fact that it's like your immediate, like true like fellow storytellers. And it's not just I mean, looking at the parent lens of it, it's not just don't do this, you need to do this. Like, it's being able to say, here's where I am. I mean, I have a 5-year-old and sometimes I think he's 15, but some of the questions that he's asking, it's like feeling it out. And you have these moments where you're like, do you answer this like you want to, or is there a better way to answer that just so they at least they understand it and you're still being honest? But it's the moments where they, are looking to see if it happened to you. And there's the true growth. And I mean, take that out of a kid realm, make that be your best friend who's, the same age as you.
Yeah.
it's being able to just go, "You know what? I have been through this, and I'm not gonna tell you don't do it too. I want you to know where my story is." And I think that's the most beautiful thing that you could ever give somebody, whether they're related to you or not, is being able to say, "Here's what I've done," and leave it at that. Not trying to tell like, "Well, here's what I did. I wouldn't do that too because 'cause you're gonna scrape your knee if you skateboard like that." No, you're gonna scrape your knee. And, so it's
and
like it's
learn.
being able to share that, and I
But I
think
was
it's
thinking, I
wonderful.
don't know, this might be controversial, you can edit it out, but I was thinking the other day that I wish we could take back like hashtag me too and make it about really seeing each other and really telling each other our stories, where I tell a story like this and me too is not so
Me too.
ugly that you can
Yeah.
say me too when we see each other in love and light versus trauma
Yeah.
and chaos.
And I think that's what it's a good I get exactly what you're saying, and it's a good example of if it probably started as just
Right.
that, right? It's just
Right.
like, "Hey, like, I'm with this, and it did. It turned ugly, but, I mean, transplant any other version of that, and it's the same thing. Now you look at it and you're like, oh, what are they gonna say about this?" And it's not. It's just that you've shared something, whether that's something tragic or you just like hot dogs together. They're the same thing to me, right? It's just the fact that, oh, whew, I can breathe
Right. I
because
had
that
a
person has
beautiful
experienced it.
exactly. I had a beautiful conversation now just for reference, like, not that age matters that much, but, like, I'm 38 and the woman I had a conversation with was 52. And we kinda just met this year, and when we first met, our energies were like we knew we would like each other, but it was just like we weren't on the same frequency at the same time, so we just kinda, like,
Yeah.
let it ride, and then we had a conversation yesterday, and it was such a, like, "Whoa, I see you."
Yeah.
Like, and that's
Yeah.
where the Me Too thought came from because it was, like, such a Me Too. And
Yeah.
we ended up talking about things that, like, I don't wanna share with most people, but it
It's not
just
already
came up
started, right?
naturally, and we saw each other so clearly and so
Yeah.
lovingly and so in the light, even though what we were talking about was, like, part of our shadowy stuff, and we were both talking about similar but different journeys we had been on, and I was like, "Man, this is it."
I love it. Well, Crystal, thank you for sharing your story and showing us how to shake hands with shadows. I truly
Shake
appreciate it.
hands with shadows. I like that.